Hey everyone! Today I'll be showing you how to make your very own pom-pom bats 3 different ways. These are cheap and easy and can be made out of materials you probably already own. This first method is using a Pom Pom Maker, which I will admit is somewhat of a cheat, but honestly if you have access to one, it does make the work go much faster and it's a lot less finicky. The first time I ever used a Pom Pom Maker was with my goddaughter Skyly. I'd seen them around but never in action, and that girl was a pom-pom making machine. They honestly couldn't be easier. You just wrap the yarn around each set of arms, snap them closed, then snip through the loops on each side. My advice is to only wrap the yarn to the edge of the arms so that it's flush all the way across. In the past, I've overstuffed these in the hopes of getting a fluffier pom-pom, but it's an almost identical result for double the work. If you want a bigger pom-pom, you'll want to go up a size in the set. Once you've cut through each side, you'll tie a double knot through the center, pop off the sides, and voila, pom-pom. Now it's time to give your pom-pom a fresh haircut, a step that you will note is similar between all 3 methods. This is where you'll really start to see it take shape. This is where you'll realize it's a terror that flaps in the night. Now we're on to the second method of pom-pom mastery. Truthfully, I came up with this one day when I was too lazy to find the tools used in method 1. I've never seen another tutorial using this method, and there's probably a good reason for that, but of the 3 I'm including here, excluding the first one requiring you to have a $7 set of specialty tools, it's my favorite. Mostly because it's pretty darn customizable and because it's so straightforward. You don't need to use pens, really anything will do. Dowels, hand weights, an especially patient dog. But I don't have any of those on hand, so I recommend pens. The process is more or less the same minus one arm. Wrap your yarn around both pens until you've reached your desired fluff quota, then tie a single knot between the 2 pens, trapping the loops. Then slide the aspiring pom-pom off one end. Once it's free, now's the time to double knot it tightly. The first knot was just to make sure the loop stayed in place while you moved it, but you want to avoid double knotting it too early or you risk the pom-pom being too loose to hold its shape. It's been my experience that this leads to a sad, tiny pile of yarn noodles and needing to start over. If you've properly disciplined your pom-pom though, you'll be on to the haircut. Another pom-pom completed. Okay, on to the last method, the fork. This is probably the most common use what you have method of making pom-poms I've seen, so I wanted to include it. However, in my opinion, it's the most frustrating. In fact, I had to film this 3 times, and now I hate that fork. It's not even the fork's fault, and I know that, and I don't care. Truthfully, this is identical to the last method, except that, before you begin wrapping, you'll want to slip a length of yarn between the middle prongs of the fork. This just ensures you're not battling with tightly wrapped yarn down the line to tie a knot. Once you're done wrapping up your utensil to your heart's desire, it's more or less the same routine. Tie a simple knot, slide it off the end, maybe convince a handsome stranger to help you with a second knot, then snip, 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 haircut. Hey! You know 3 ways to make pom-poms. You go, Glen Coco. So whether you go the way of an official pom-pom maker, some pens, or a fickle fork, you're ready to put some bats all up in your belfry. This is where you can really start to tailor things to your preferences or what you have on hand. For me, I just so happen to have some faux black leather from when I made my friend Wesley a barefoot stocking last year. Faux leather, as it happens, makes fairly convincing bear claws. The key here is to make sure the wings have enough substance to not collapse to the sides. These are bats of action. We need to give them the tools for the job. If what you have on hand is less than ideal, don't stress out about going out and buying something specifically for this project. Any color can be darkened or changed with a little acrylic paint or ink, and anything super lightweight can be fortified with a little cardboard, like from a cereal box, or some wire. And honestly, you can get away with just doubling up the fabrics, as you can see I've done here. One of my favorite little details to add to anything even remotely plush is a blanket stitch around the outside edge. I don't think I've ever made something cutesy without it now that I'm thinking about it. Although, that's not to say these bats are cute, because they're not. They are the night. If you decide to try out stitching the wings with anything heavier than felt, I recommend going around the outside edge with a thicker needle or an awl. Then it's just a game of connect the dots, and you'll save yourself some time in the long run. Personally, the Batso stitch wings are definitely my favorite by appearance at the end, but you don't need to go that route. In fact, if you're doing this as a craft with your kid or a simple decoration, don't stress about it. No one will know the difference, and they're pretty stinking adorable either way. When it comes to attaching the wings, it's really a game of how much time you have. For immediate results, hot glue is your guy. But if you have a few minutes, stitching them on by weaving thread through the middle is the most long-lasting, and good old tacky glue is the safest and simplest. Now it's time to cake on that face. As my dear friend Carol knows all too well from a birthday prank 2 years ago involving a misused key to her home and several hours of unrequested gluing, I love googly eyes. Sure, they're a little simple, but does anyone really dislike them? And if they do, how? They're basically the perfect accessory. Add a little paint if you want them to be disinterested or angry, leave them plain if your bat knows how to have a good time. But if Cookie Monster killed your family and you can't bear the sight of them, there are definitely alternatives. The easiest and most child-friendly alternative is puffy fabric paint. And there's always good old-fashioned hand stitching for the patient. Whichever direction your bat takes, I'm certain he or she will be the belle of the ball. A good bat needs no purpose for the whimsical, but here are some suggestions. How about a decorative piece for a present? Or maybe leave a couple long strings hanging off a chandelier. Or maybe a toy for your super disinterested cat. No, wait, give that back. That's a bad idea. Don't give them to your cat. However you use your new Pom Pom bats, I hope they serve you well. May they tell the world that you mean business this Halloween, and that your home is a mosquito-free zone. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next Thursday with another video.